Next is a person who certainly needs no introduction, but we're going to do it anyway. Coach Dutcher, this is your life. The son of Earl and Hazel Dutcher, Jim was born and raised in Alpena, growing up on the city's north side. A star athlete at Alpena High School, he was class president and earned 11 letters playing football, basketball, baseball, and running track. Earning all-state honors in basketball and football, the latter under legendary coach Bob Dedane. Jim graduated from Alpena High School in 1951 and headed to Ann Arbor to play football at the University of Michigan under Coach Benny Eastermont. Unfortunately, an injury forced him to hang up football cleats, but he pivoted. I like the word pivoted in this one. And joined the basketball team instead. A physical education major, Jim graduated from Michigan with a BS in 1955. He later returned to U of M and earned a master's in 1961. Joined the Army in 1955, serving as a member of the 3rd Armored Division stationed in Frankfurt, Germany. Yeah. He coached and played on the 3rd Armored Division artillery basketball team while in Germany, and also coached offensive line for the Armored Division football team. After returning home to Alpena, Jim accepted the job as a new athletic director and basketball coach at Alpena Community College in 1958. Just 25 years old, Jim also coached cross-country and baseball for the Lumberjacks. Shortly after returning home, Jim married a former Maryland Hill. As coach of the basketball team, Jim compiled a record of 105 and 7, leading his 1965-66 team. Let's hear it for the 65-66 team. The National Junior College Basketball Championship Tournament in Kansas. That team included Tom Richardson and co-captain Roy McNeely, who were the first 2 black basketball players in Alpena, too many college history. Although the Lumberjacks didn't make it out of the first round, they were one of the top 16 teams in the country. Jim left the ACC at the end of the 1966 season to take a head coaching position at Eastern Michigan University. He brought former ACC basketball star Rod Marlette onto his staff as an assistant coach, and several graduating ACC Lumberjacks from the 1966 team transferred to Eastern to continue their collegiate basketball careers, including ACC 1966 basketball co-captains Roy McNeely and Jim McCormick, as well as Ellis Hayes. 6 years coaching EMU, Dutcher led the team to a record of 122-50. He was twice named the National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics Coach of the Year while at Eastern Michigan. He led the men's basketball team to postseason tournaments in all 6 seasons as head coach, and coached the 1971-72 tournaments in the Final Four of the NCAA College Division National Championship game. Prominent players Dutcher coached at Eastern Michigan included Kennedy McIntosh, who played for the Seattle Supersonics, Earl Higgins, who played for the Indiana Pacers, Northeast Michigan's own Harvey Marlette, who played for the Pistons, and Hall of Famer George Gervin, nicknamed the Iceman, who played with the Virginia Squires, San Antonio Spurs, and Chicago Bulls. Of those 4 players mentioned, I personally saw 3 of those people play in high school, and they were terrific. In 1972, Jim joined Johnny Orr's staff at the University of Michigan as an assistant coach, joining former Alpena High School assistant coach Bill Frieder, who I refer to as the most famous university basketball coach in Alpena High School history. I think I'm safe on that. In 1975, Jim left Michigan to take a head coaching position at the University of Minnesota, where he recruited and coached such prominent NBA players as Ray Williams, who later played for the Knicks, Michael Thompson, who played for the Portland Trail Blazers, the Los Angeles Lakers, and has a son who's in the league pretty good right now. Kevin McHale, who played for the Boston Celtics. Trey Tucker, who played for Northwestern, right, coach, originally, who played for the New York Knicks and Chicago Bulls. Randy Brewer, who played for the Bucks, the Timberwolves, the Hawks, the Kings. Flip Saunders, who coached the Timberwolves, and the Pistons, and the Wizards. Osborne Lockhart, who played for the Globetrotters, and Jim Peterson, who played for the Houston Rockets. Named Big Ten Coach of the Year in 1982, Jim led the Gophers to the Big Ten Championship, and the team made it to the Sweet 16 in the NCAA tournament. Jim resigned as head coach of the University of Minnesota in 1986. He went on to become a registered financial advisor and senior vice president for the Royal Bank of Canada at Jane. He retired in 2005. Dutcher and his wife Marilyn had 4 children. Son Brian, who was the head coach, as we all know, of San Diego State. And by the way, I'm a huge San Diego State booster. And if you go out and read the bio of Brian, hometown of Alpena, Michigan. Daughter Diane is vice president of human capital at United Healthcare and is with us tonight. Wade down, she's right here. Judy is an attorney, the former Minnesota State Auditor, and the CEO of the Vincent Foundation, and Barbara is the Director of Market Research at United Healthcare. Coach, your kids did pretty good. Your kids did pretty good. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Alpena's own, ACC's own, Coach Jim Dutcher. Truly a Lumberjack Legend.
The long version and the short version, you're going to get the intermediate version. Strictly back in Alpena, I was a resident here my first 32 years of my life. Got a chance to play some football and basketball at the University of Michigan. Hold your moves, please. They tried today, just didn't work for them. But after I got out of the service, I came back and I got out of the service in January of 1957 and came back to Alpena, and the only job open was the head coach at Hillman High School. And, you know, that didn't appeal to me for some reason. And so I ended up going to Alpena High School teaching physical education and was the assistant basketball coach with Dick Dennis, who was the head coach at Alpena at that time. And I taught physical education during the day, mornings, and then I taught 6th grade at Bingham School in Alpena. And that was a different way for me to go, for sure. After LaRue Harcourt had resigned as the coach and went out to Whittier Junior College, I got a call from Stan Van Laer, and he offered me the job at Alpena Community College. And it was a pretty simple job. I coached basketball, cross country, baseball. I was athletic director, taught full load classes, and drove the team bus on some occasions. So I went up and asked the business office, I said, do I have an assistant coach? And they said, well, no, but we got some money here allotted for it. So we drove cars to the games to start. And I wasn't driving in a car with, you know, the kind of weather we have here in Michigan during the winter. So with the money, I hired a driving education coach or teacher at Alpena High School. He didn't know if the basketball was blowing up or stuff, but I didn't need him to coach and he needed him to drive the car. We did not have a gymnasium. That was not available to us. So we practiced at Memorial Hall at the time, and you know how old Memorial Hall is. Did not have hot water in showers after practice. We did not have a dormitory, so we had to live in people's houses scattered all over town. But we never made excuses about that. We just said, hey, it is what it is, and we're just going to have to put up with it. The first few years, we had mainly kids from Alpena High School or Catholic Central, scattered around with an occasion guy that was. In the team that Lou Harcourt had left me, I had one guy on the team who was my age. So it was kind of an adult team that he left. And I ran into one of the players here tonight, Bob Strong, who was from Grayling, Michigan. He was on that first team. But we were average, I would say. We won some, lost some, but we couldn't beat Flint, couldn't beat Grand Rapids, had trouble beating Delta. And so I thought, well, we got to do something to improve the size, particularly of this team. And so I had a decision to make. This was the smallest community of any of the community colleges. So I said, I've got to branch out, start looking for some players other than in our immediate area, which we had for the first 2 years. So there was a guy who graduated from Alpena High School with me named Bob Wallace. And Bob graduated with the first class of Alpena Community College. He graduated in 1954, and that was the first graduating class. He and I were good friends from high school. So when I went into the service, Bob graduated in 54. He went 2 years to Alma, and then coached at Melvindale High School, assistant basketball and classroom teacher. So I called Bob, and I said, Don, we need some help here. We got an average team, but we don't want to be an average team. We want to be a good team. He said, well, I got 2 guys here at Melvindale that aren't bad. I'll talk to them. So he did, and they came, and we got just a little bit better. About a year and a half later, Bob calls again. He said, the best team in suburban Detroit is Wayne Memorial High School. And he said, I'll talk to their coach. So we talked to the coach from Wayne Memorial, and he said, yeah, they'd be interested. So we got 3 really good basketball players from Wayne Memorial, and we got a little better. There was a baseball player named Wes Nunley. Couldn't hit the curveball, but Wes Nunley, who I was talking to here tonight, stayed in the Alpena area and is really prospered in the Alpena area. So that was a good team. So a little bit later, Alpena has a good team, local. And so I talked to the guys from Alpena, and 3 of them came. Gary Gunderson, who was a really good center, Lyle Schroeder, and Tom Miller. They stayed at my mother's house. And my mother was the cook at the high school, so I knew they were going to be well fed. And they were really, really good kids, good players. I got a letter from Tom Miller, about a year and a half ago, and he told me that after he played here, he went to Alma, was a 3-sport letter winner at Alma. Then he joined the service and was on a patrol boat in the Vietnam War, came back and was a special agent in the FBI for 28 years. So he was an FBI agent. And he just told about what a great experience he had, not only playing on our community college teams, but, you know, living at my house and mother. And he said, you used to bring back your baby boy, Brian. Well, Brian went on, of course, coaching fame at San Diego State. They played for the national championship 2 years ago. And I figured it out. my first year at Alpena Community College, I said I coached 3 sports, taught classes, you know, did everything that was there, $11,000. That was my salary. And that was a raise from what I was getting at Alpena High School. But, you know, this was a long time ago. And so I figured it out. I coached 28 years total. And he had told about some of the players we had, like George Gervin at Eastern, Kevin McHale at Minnesota, who are they picked the 50 best players ever to play in the NBA. And Kevin and the Iceman were 2 of the 50. And I still stay in touch. I talked to George Gervin on a pretty level. And Kevin McHale, of course, was a Minnesota guy. And a different story with him. We tried to get him as a walk-on. He was from Hibbing, Minnesota. We said, we can't give you a scholarship, Kevin. We're not sure you're a good enough player. And he said, well, Coach, my dad works in the mine. If I can't get a scholarship, I said, Kevin, we'll give you a scholarship. And went on to be one of the great players of all time. But at the team at the Alpena Community College, we kept getting some players from places like Melvindale, where Bob Wallace coached, and Wayne Memorial. And then we added a guy from Roger City named Mike Dwyer. And Mike's here with his family. He played our point guard, a starting point guard for 2 years on the team. And then I got a call from Bob Wallace in the middle of the summer. He said, Coach, I was at the St. Cecilia Recreation League in Detroit, and there were 2 guys on the team. He said they were pretty good players. So I talked to them, and they said they played at Detroit Southwestern High School a year ago. They're out of high school for a year. And he said, they said they'd be interested in going to college. And I said, why don't you give me some information? He said, well, here's their phone numbers. And so I called them. One was Roy McNeely. And Roy, I went down and met him, said his dad was in the state legislature in Michigan, in East Lansing. And he said, Coach, I'd love to come play. So his buddy was Tom Richardson, who was the other guy on that team. I went and his mother was the only adult in the home, and she was a registered nurse. And she said, it's a dream that my son could go to college. Yeah. And so Roy and Tom came, and they were the nucleus then of this team that we're talking about. The first year, we were pretty good, but still, you know, struggling a little bit to get there. The next year, and I'm going to tell you where the players were from, because we've expanded the boundaries of what we thought was our community. We had 4 players from Detroit: Tom Richardson, Roy McNeely, Ellis Hayes, and Harvey Hughes. We had 3 from Melvindale High School. That was Bob Wallace's school. And Tim Doherty, Sam Cholton, and Gary Smith. We have 1 from Wayne Memorial, one of our co-captains, Jim McCormick. A lot of these guys are here tonight. You're going to see them in a little bit here. We have 1 from Roger City, and that was Mike Dwyer, who was our point guard for 2 years. We had 1 player from Alpena, Jim McCullum, and then we had 1 from the River Rouge area, Dennis Blair, and he's here tonight also. And our student manager on that team was Gary Gray. I knew his mother and dad. I knew the home that he was raised on Fair Avenue. So that was our group. They liked each other. It's nice to have players that aren't envious of each other. They really liked each other and they liked to play. So that team went on, won 22 basketball games, and won the conference championship in Michigan. And we beat the damn team from Flint finally. And so we were conference champs. So then that qualified us for the regional tournament. And our region was Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan. And the best team in that thing by far going in was Vincennes, Indiana. They had won the national championship the year before. And they had 3 starters back from the national championship team. And we beat them in the final game. So all at once, Alpena Community College was going to the Junior College Nationals. And it was at Hutchinson, Kansas. And I can't remember the game. It was 58 years ago. My memory is not that good. But I remember the excitement around the school. And we had a charter plane. The team came to Van Laer Hall, and the cheerleaders all got on with the cheerleaders coach. Then the basketball team got on. And then Stanley Van Laer, our president of the board, and we were off to Hutchinson, Kansas for the national tournament. So basically, we were the best community college team in 3 sports. We were better than the team in Indiana, better than the teams in Ohio, and the best team in Michigan. So that was kind of if we're peaking, you're going to meet these guys in just a minute here. But that was the team. And there were guys that were committed. We just had one reason, no excuses. The fact that we didn't have a gym, so what? That's not an excuse. You know, the fact that we didn't have dorms, so what? That's an excuse. And so we had guys scattered all over town. And Roy McNeely, after he played for me at Eastern then. He won his past 2 years at Eastern. And a few years then he had a teaching job, graduated from Eastern in teaching, taught all his life. He was school administrator, retired, and they moved to Texas. But he said he took his 12-year-old son once when he was living in Ypsilanti and said, I want you to go see where I went to college. So they got in the car and started up to Alpena. They hit Standish, and his son said, aren't we there yet? And I said, no, we got a little ways to go. So they went through the Harrisville Hills, and he said, now where are we? He said, we're getting close to Alpena. And so they got to Alpena, and Roy took him back to the 2 apartments that he had lived in, and went out and visited campus, and none of the stuff across in Van Laer Hall was there when Roy and Tom played. But years later, I got a letter from Roy McNeely, and if I can find it here, I will read it because I think it epitomizes a lot of the things that I was talking about. I think it's this one right here. Nope, that's not it. I like the other. I thank you for giving me the chance to develop my basketball skills and the opportunity to obtain an education. I was excited but scared to attend Alpena Community College. I was excited to get the chance to play college basketball, but I was concerned and scared about being one of the first black players ever to play at Alpena Community College. I finished Southwestern High School with averaging 2 points a game, but then he played recreation. One of my concerns was that I would have to play against players who had been all-city or all-state players. Tom and I talked, that was Tom Richardson who came with him. Tom and I talked about our situation many times and drew strength from each other. We also drew strength from you. We knew that if things didn't work out, we could just walk away and go home to Detroit. You, on the other hand, would have to stay and deal with whatever situation existed. I realized that the pressure is not just mine, but yours. You were bringing 2 black kids from Detroit into an all-white community to play basketball without giving it a second thought. I saw a young coach with the will, strength, and determination to complete the job, regardless of adversity. With that, I knew that I had to do my best. The first year was a treat. I finished averaging 20 points and 14 rebounds a game. The second year was even better than the first. We went to the National Junior College Tournament and represented our school well. In the big line in this letter from Roy was when he said we represented our school well. He was talking about Alpena Community College. Here's a young black player from Detroit who says the college that he went to and he was proud to represent was Alpena Community College. I say the same thing. I was able to win some national conference championships in the Big Ten and got a lot of players that played in the NBA. But this team gave me as much joy as any team I ever coached because they had a lot to overcome. The conditions, new community, and the hardest coach, I've coached 28 years in college, and the hardest was here at Alpena Community College because it's 2 years. Every year you turn over half your team and start over. And so you never get to really work hard on the fundamentals of the game. Because you always got to be ready to play the game because you only got 2 years. In 4-year college now, they got 6 years. They got 4 years of eligibility, they got a year for redshirt to something out, and they got a year for COVID. So when Brian, my son, got to the national championship game, they had 1 6-year player, 2 5-year players, a 4-year player, and a 3-year player. So they were like a pro lineup with experience. And that makes all the difference in the world. If you watch the Olympics, you saw teams in South Sudan almost beat the best basketball players in the world, our Olympic team. You're talking about LeBron James and Steph Curry and all the rest of the players, Kevin Durant, and they beat South Sudan by 1 point. It's because it's a team game. South Sudan played better as a team than America did as a team. Finally, we wore them down and beat them with talent. In the final game with France, there was no question our team was by far the best, but we were damn lucky to beat France. Steph Curry had to make 3 threes in a row right in the last minute to give us the game. So the thing that I loved about this team you're going to meet in just a minute was they played the game together. They liked each other. They liked the college they represented. They put up with the coach they had and went on and represented Alpena Community College in the national tournament. Thank you.